Hey guys, how are you? I hope you guys can hear me okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey Nikki, how are you? Um, so yeah, I wanted to do a little member live today. I didn't know what I was going to talk about earlier, but a couple of things started happening in the news today, and I said, let me go ahead and drop this one off over here because this one seems to be most relevant over onto Love Lies and Lacefronts, since we do talk a lot about mom and YouTube culture, YouTube mom culture, all of the things. So I thought it would be most appropriate. I do want to talk about Jonathan Majors too, but we can talk about that over on Real Talk Bougie. And I have some other stuff to get into. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get to everything tonight. So we're just, we just got a lot on the list just to tick down and just keep going, right? Um, it is quite interesting. So we talked about this before. I do have another video on this topic, like when it actually first occurred. So basically, you guys may or may not know, which I'm sure most of you do, a lot of Bougie Gang and those who come to watch here are very familiar with YouTube. And there was a channel called 8 Passengers, and Ruby Frankie was the mom of the bunch. It was her and her husband, and I believe they had 6 children. Is it 6 children or 8 children? So it's 6 altogether, right? 6 children and the husband. Ruby seemed to be some sort of a very kind of tough love type mom. Let's just put it like that. Very tough love, very much not giving the warm fuzzies, definitely doing things like withholding meals, withholding, um, you know, just things that seem quite basic. There was a story that she didn't allow one of her sons to sleep in a bed for, um, a period of time because he wasn't keeping his room clean. Just really almost kind of spiteful parenting. So it seemed, but really and truly, it got to the point where I think they were getting a lot of criticism on the internet. Hey, Lex. They were getting a lot of criticism, and we've seen this all before. When the YouTube streets becomes critical, everyone's a hater, right? So this is another one of these families that said that they were dealing with haters, naysayers, all kinds of negative discourse about them on the internet. Eventually, they kind of faded away from the internet, or she slowly backed her kids away. Then it was her, then it was they basically left YouTube, but they were quite a popular family unit on YouTube and made, from what I understand, a lot of money. And I guess she was able to develop a network and then went into business with this woman Hildebrandt. Anyway, they started some sort of an organization where it was maybe like a help organization or support organization for parenting, maybe of people of similar backgrounds, like homeschoolers, um, they also are Mormon. So there could have been any number of twists and turns to this support group, this company, who they were kind of gearing their business to. But in any case, Ruby Franke went into business with this woman, and it was revolving around parenting skills and, again, support for parents in rearing and managing your families and kids. And apparently it caught a lot of attention. The children during this time were allegedly being abused. The children were running to neighbors' houses saying that they were starving, they weren't being well fed. Um, there was one child who was college age who went to college and basically cut ties for the most part with her family because of the abuse that she had endured over the years, and finally got away when she went to college, and I think confided in family members, specifically her aunt, that, what had been going on. And from many accounts, they'd been notifying the police and the FBI. And I guess these cases are very difficult to pinpoint and be able to, when you don't have the hospital reports, you don't have, maybe CPS had been coming in and out. And I think that is the case on a few occasions, but really nothing to take the kids out of the home. Like, it had just been reports after reports after reports after reports. But as we do know, the more that things are reported and the more that things stay the same and the parents kind of spiral out of more and more out of control, usually these cases, will pick up the attention that they need, which is kind of what happened in this situation. So, the mom, Ruby, was arrested some months ago, along with her business associate. And basically today, everything came to a head, and she accepted a plea deal where there were 6 counts of various different degrees of child abuse. And she pled guilty to 4 counts, where she is not going to contest a prison sentence, that the prison sentences will be run consecutively, which is, there's the difference between the consecutive and concurrent. So let's just say she gets 5 years on all counts, then she could end up doing 20 years. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but they are to run consecutively versus concurrent. And she is also going to testify against this person, Hildebrand. So I don't know if she feels like this person kind of put her up to this type of parenting, or her abusive parenting tactics increased under the direction of this woman. I'm not really sure what she's going to testify to, but apparently she has agreed to cooperate with the state, and she is taking the guilty pleas, and she will be sentenced on February 20th. So I guess they're going to get all of their information from her, and they will be pursuing, she will be sentenced on February 20th, and she understands and have waived the right to be able to not ask for, she understands part of the plea that they talked about was that she understood that jail would be, that prison would be part of the punishment for the situation. So I do have some video I'm going to share with you guys. Let me see if I can find exactly what I'm looking for. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. But I mean, the standout in all of this is, again, this is a YouTube mom, and we hear this all the time. I think people, unfortunately, on YouTube, they do get into their bubbles, and they don't really realize that some of the things that they do or say are just not necessarily what everyone else is doing. And they're in their bubble and they feel like they're being piled on. And most people with good common sense don't parent or discipline their children in front of other people anyway, and expect accolades. I mean, that's typically a very personal situation anyway. Um, but people who engage in very, I think someone used militant or very harsh parenting tactics, that's just not the stuff that like YouTube mom channels are supposed to be made of. Like nobody really wants to watch that. No one wants to see kids suffering, much less withholding food, basics, you know, adequate resting place for your children to get their rest and grow and be nurtured. Um, it's just, it was for a lot of people, it was very tough to watch that channel. But, you know, of course, they're watching it because it was a damn train wreck. And here we are now. These children had to basically escape the clutches of their mother. The father was outside of the home. It's being reported that the father has filed for divorce. Kevin Franke, he's filed for divorce, and that this is a really bad situation. And the children are estranged, I believe, at this time, still from both parents. But it was the son who was 12 who escaped from the home. The most recent time went to the neighbor, and the St. George police were contacted, came and then rescued the other children from the home, and you know, got them to safety. And that was when Ruby and her business associate were apprehended and taken in for arrest on child abuse charges. And, you know, as a side note, just as a mother, allowing some woman to reprimand your children is absolutely crazy. Discipline your children, and taking orders from some other woman to discipline your kids. I mean, it's just, it's absolutely nuts. Anyway, so let me see. I had some of the press conference with the prosecutor. And do I still have it? Let's see. Let me see if I can get that to load real quick. Okay, just 1 second. Let me see what you guys comments are.
Court gets it up, but the plea terms are relatively simple. She pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
I don't know if you guys
The
can
state
hear
agreed
this.
to dismiss the 2 other counts of child abuse, and she agreed to serve a prison term, and that the term for the 4 different counts will run consecutively and not concurrently. And she agrees, I'll read this one verbatim. She agrees to testify truthfully against Jody Hildebrandt, and in return, the Washington County Attorney's Office agrees to remain neutral regarding future hearings before the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole.
And how long is the plea? How long is she serving this?
Okay.
So,
Can you guys hear
those
that or
sentences,
no?
each count is a 1 to 15-year term, but under the Utah sentencing guidelines, that's all flexible and up to the Utah Board of Pardons.
Yeah, the poor kids. It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
No. So
I don't, you
in
know,
in
sometimes
February, she'll
like
be
you don't know what it
sentenced,
is.
and then the Board of Pardon and Parole will hold a review hearing, and that typically happens about 6 months after people go to prison. And
Right,
at that point, they set the date for the next review hearing, but that's all.
okay, let me get this from the beginning.
She will
Sorry,
remain.
I was like trying to find where I was and all of my tabs that are open. So my bad, y'all. Let's get this from the top and I'll let you see the screen. Just a moment. Let me get this open.
Incarcerated awaiting sentencing pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. This morning, Ruby FRANKE pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. She will remain incarcerated awaiting sentencing, which will occur, and the date was February 20th, I believe. We are pleased that Mrs. FRANKE has accepted responsibility for criminal actions and that justice is being served to the extent possible in this type of a situation. We're grateful for the law enforcement officers, caseworkers, Children's Justice Center staff, and others that have been instrumental in the fair and speedy resolution of this case. Because the alleged facts of the ongoing case involving Jody Hildebrand are intertwined with this case, our office will not be making additional statements to the media at this time. For further information, we refer you to the pleading document in support of guilty plea and the factual basis and the plea terms in that.
What are the plea terms? Just basically.
And I can do that also. Like I said, we'll be happy to, if you contact our office, we'll be happy to release this if we get it up before the court gets it up. But the plea terms are relatively simple. She pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The state agreed to dismiss the 2 other counts of child abuse. And she agreed to serve a prison term, and that the term for the 4 different counts will run consecutively and not concurrently. And she agrees, I'll read this one verbatim. She agrees to testify truthfully against Jody Hildebrand, and in return, the Washington County Attorney's Office agrees to remain neutral regarding future hearings before the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole.
And how long is the plea? How long is she serving those sentences?
So those sentences, each count is a 1 to 15 year term, but under the Utah sentencing guidelines, that's all flexible and up to the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole.
Will they know that more in February during your sentencing?
No. So in February, she'll be sentenced, and then the Board of Pardon and Parole will hold a review hearing, and that typically happens about 6 months after people go to prison. And at that point, they set the date for the next review hearing, but that's all up to them and how they handle that.
Any time served can count towards that?
Typically, almost always, time served counts towards that.
Can you go into the decision to remove 2 of those counts of child abuse?
I can't get into any more on that until both cases are resolved and appellate times have run.
And you said she'll be testifying against Hildebrand?
She agrees to testify against Hildebrand.
Okay.
So, thanks you guys.
Okay.
Okay, let me get this other part for you guys. Hold on a second. Yeah, here we go.
Good morning. Welcome to District Court. We're here in the matter of State of Utah versus FRANKE, case number 231501764. Mr. Winward is here representing Ms. FRANKE. Let's bring her out. And Mr. Clark and Mr. Sham are here representing the State of Utah. Ms. FRANKE is now here. Mr. Winward, we are scheduled for a waiver hearing. Is there going to be a waiver today?
There will, plus a plea agreement, Your Honor.
All right.
I'll ask the bailiff to hand you if it's been executed.
All right. Mr. Winward, you have discussed with Ms. FRANKE a preliminary hearing, what's involved in a preliminary hearing. She understands she has a right to a preliminary hearing on all of the charges in the case. She understands what the charges are, and she's prepared to waive a preliminary hearing in the case on all charges.
She is, and that is contained in this agreement on page 7 as well.
Very good. All right, I've been handed a plea agreement, and it appears to be signed by Ms. FRANKE. Ms. FRANKE, did you sign this agreement?
Yes,
And you did that today? When did you sign it?
the 18th,
Okay. You've read it carefully?
every word.
Your signature represents to the court that you've read it carefully, that you understand what you've read, and that you agree to all of the terms. Is that all accurate?
Yes,
You've had sufficient time to ask questions of your counsel, to go over any questions you have. You're ready to go forward.
yes,
You don't need any more time.
I'm ready.
Ms. Franke, is anyone pressuring you to enter into this agreement?
No,
Anyone promising you anything I haven't been told about?
no,
Anything that's not in the written plea agreement?
no,
Are you under the influence of alcohol or drugs today?
no,
Is there anything today that could in any way interfere with your ability to understand the agreement, its consequences, anything?
no,
No physical condition, no medication, nothing?
no.
Any further record, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Windward, we ready to proceed?
We are ready to proceed.
All right, then. Ms. Franke, how do you plead to count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
To count 3, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
To count 5, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
And to count 6, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty.
There is a factual basis set forth in the agreement that is a stipulated factual basis, counsel.
That's correct, Your Honor. That is correct, Judge Walton.
The court finds that the factual basis is sufficient. All of the terms of the agreement are stipulated, including that the court obtain a pre-sentence investigation report, correct?
Correct.
There won't be any argument about whether prison is the appropriate sentence, and there's an agreement about the 4 counts running consecutive.
That is correct.
All right, the court finds then that Ms. Franke's pleas are made knowingly and voluntarily. The court therefore accepts and enters those pleas. The court orders the preparation of a pre-sentence investigation report to be prepared by AP&P and the Department of Corrections. Counsel, what about sentencing on February 20th? I think, do you and your client agree to waive time, counsel?
We do agree to waive time, Your Honor.
February 20th, I believe, is a Tuesday. Is that right? Tw 10 a.m.?
That works for us, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else for today?
Your Honor, maybe, I've heard the court say this several times in a different fashion. We are not binding the court to any specific sentence, and the court retains its right to sentence as it sees fit. I just mentioned that this is not a Rule 11 plea, but although it's a stipulated statement of defendant.
Counsel, approach, please.
Okay, I think at that moment, and you guys know I'm not an attorney, I think he was, in a way, saying, you know, we've pled guilty, she is cooperating, she understands she's going to prison, but please don't throw the book at her, is kind of my assumption. I don't know. Any of you, anyone with legal background, let me know if I'm right, because I think that's what he was alluding to. I could be completely wrong, because then the judge called for a sidebar. Everybody had to go up to the bench. You could see he was kind of, I don't want to say he was admonishing the lawyer, her attorney, but I think he was like, okay, let's get this straight. Like, before, so we don't have any gray areas here, because she is facing 60 years. She's facing 1 to 15 for each count. She's got 4 counts she just pled guilty to, and she could face up to 60 years running consecutively. Concurrent is when they let you batch everything all together. So, Even if you got 4 years on each, they're going to just let you basically do 4 years. You do like a 4th year sentence basically, because they're going to let you do everything simultaneously. However, she's doing it consecutive. So 4 on 4 on 4 on 4, or 1 on 1 on 1 on 1, all of that stuff. So now in Utah, they said after 6 months, they do let you go to a review board. They assess what you have, then they figure out when you will come back. So who knows, if she does well, maybe they will allow her to get out. I'm not really sure, but based on the damage of the children, and I'm quite sure after any kind of victim impact and all of the things, all of the suffering that these children have had to go through, all of her impunity and you know, just her awful, egregious behavior as a mother, and then flaunting it on the internet as an example of what parenting is to look like, and the damage that she may have caused. Like, this is bad. It's bad for her family, and it's bad for the people that believed in this woman, that thought that this may be something to follow and model, because this happens every day on the internet. There's a lot of people out here that are doing the worst and the most, and people follow them like this is some good stuff. And we see this all the time on our YouTube channels. Like, it's in our feeds, right? Anyway, Ruby Franke obviously has gotten her day in court. She did not want to face the facts. I think she took the best way out to preserve her family and the privacy of her children, to not have to drag this whole thing in the mud, because basically by pleading guilty, she has eliminated a whole entire trial. She has eliminated the situation where her kids are going to have to sit there and be further traumatized, to have to relive everything in public, and have to talk about how their mom was cruel to them, and also face her husband, face her children, face her family, face everyone, face the neighbors, face the police officers, go through the whole ordeal, only to probably be found guilty anyway. So she did probably the smartest thing, that if you know you're guilty anyway, save the state and everyone the trouble to have to try to drag it out. And she went ahead and pled guilty, and she is cooperating with her cohort, Hildebrand. Anyway, we'll keep our eyes on this. I just wanted to come talk about it. I know you guys have heard about it. You know, again, I just thought this was a really important topic that we need to make sure that we talk about over here, since we are definitely part of the mommy community and YouTube mommy community. And, you know, this is obviously a very relevant case, and closing out right here at the end of the year. So it kind of went really swift. And, you know, I think she made the right decision. And for someone who's now pled guilty of, you know, egregious acts against their children, this was probably one of the kindest things that she could have done for the children at this moment, is to spare them the agony of having to watch their mom in shackles and a jail uniform, and having to testify against their mom. So, you know, anyway, we'll keep our eyes on this. She's going back to court on February 20th for sentencing, and the trial of her cohort and business partner should be interesting. And it's quite possible that maybe her testimony will save the children from having to testify against this woman and air out all of the dirty laundry of that family. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. This will be here for you guys. This might end up published like tomorrow or something for everyone else in a premiere. So if you missed this, obviously this will be here in members, and you'll see it as a premiere for all of Bougie Gang, I would say probably in the next 24 hours. Anyway, guys, have a good evening, and make sure to comment below. Let me know what you think of this, and we will talk again really soon. You guys take care. Have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye, guys.